Hi everyone, welcome to my review of The Party from 1968, directed by Blake Edwards, and yes, starring of course Peter Sellers. So yes, back again, and today, once again talking about a Blake Edwards film, and of course another Peter Sellers film. And it's been a while since I discussed Blake Edwards film, actually, very long ago now, that I reviewed the ones that he directed anyway, the Pink Panther films. And yes, I don't plan on venturing in really to the later ones. But yes, I did say, of course, that I wanted to kind of explore the rest of his work, and obviously over time seeing every single Peter Sellers film. But yes, this will be a brief, kind of discussion here. Yet it will have spoilers, in this kind of video. So yes, if you haven't seen this film, I simply, recommend watching this. And just, coming back to that, coming back to the video after you've seen, the film, and from there, if you want, we can discuss this film. And just a warning, of course, because it may be a brief video here compared to my usual stuff, but it will have some plot points that I don't want to kind of give away to you, before you've seen the film. And so yes, with that said, let's discuss this film. And yes, seeing this around about a week ago, or a week before Christmas actually. This is now, when this video is being filmed now, it's a few days after Christmas. So yeah, around about 2 weeks ago, nearly now, that I saw this film. Picking up very recently the Eureka Blu-ray of this film, and just a great cover there as well. It seems like a great release, and the picture as well was great, and just a lovely film this, I find, and one that really uplifted my kind of evening. And it was just great, great to see another Peter Sellers film, and one that's, I find, quite a gem actually. I think this is actually a great film, and I think this is a very, very interesting kind of Blake Edwards film. Obviously being made when Inspector Clouseau was being made, released in the same year. And I'm not a fan of that film, but instead of making another Pink Panther film, at that time, these two, Blake Edwards and of course Peter Sellers, they made this film here. And it's kind of considered an experiment, but I guess every film is, of course, an experiment. But this one really is, I guess. It's very loose in structure, but saying that, many comedies are, and it's been criticised for the plot being just kind of thrown in there to allow the slapstick to come about. But I guess slapstick sometimes, most of the time, doesn't really matter, does it? About the plot. It's really about how it's executed, and how it's built up as well. And saying that, the actual narrative, I find, is very, very compelling. And by the end of this film, as we know, we have this kind of romance develop, as we go through the film. And by the end of it, I was actually very, very moved and very touched by this this romance. And of course, Michelle as a character, in the film, who recognizes this individual as just someone who she kind of she takes to straight away. And obviously, yes, Peter Sellers plays Harundi V. Bakshi, and he's essentially this bumbling actor who, in the kind of prologue, if you will, he kind of messes up this film set, and it's just a hilarious sequence. And I was kind of interested to see where the film would go from there, and how it would transition to the actual party itself. I guess the party would be the main kind of focus of the film. And yes, as we know, it is the majority of the film. We have, of course, the prologue, and we have the kind of moments in the last kind of 5 minutes or so after the party. But yes, most of the film is set around this party, of course. But yes, Bakshi essentially ruins this film set, a series of different things that he messes up, concluding, of course, with that massive, explosive, literally sequence. And we have the explosion taking place. Of course, Bakshi accidentally setting this off before everyone involved making the film has captured this. So, wow, just a hilarious sequence. And the way that Peter Sellers plays his character is someone who is very unaware of his surroundings, someone who is not really reacting in particular ways to all the stuff going on around him. Although in the last act of the film, it's a little bit different, and we'll get to that. But overall, it seems like he's oblivious, to what's going on around him, and it just makes for such hilarious sequences. And we'll get to the way this is put together very, very soon. Yes, of course, the great Peter Sellers, is joined, of course, by a variety of different talents as well. Of course, Claudine, Longet, she plays Michelle, and as I say, there is a romance that develops as we go throughout the film, and I find it to be a lovely, lovely romance. There's a great kind of singing sequence as well later on in the film involving Michelle, and that's a nice connection they have there at that point. But she recognises Bakshi as just someone who, she kind of she really takes a liking to, and kind of develops over the course of the film, and we have. Though Bakshi being at the beginning of the film, after destroying the actual film shoot there, he's placed on a list, so that he's not going to be accepted any more roles again, for acting, for example. But Fred Clutterbuck, he has this party, and with these Hollywood individuals and actors, producers, etc. And essentially the name of Bakshi gets written on the actual piece, of the invitations to this party. So even though Fred, Clutterbuck, he is hosting this party, he is unaware that Bakshi is in this the whole time, and even though it destroyed his film, essentially Bakshi, and yes, throughout the rest of the film, Bakshi is doing things at the party, and Clutterbuck is kind of reacting to this, but he doesn't know who Bakshi is. He doesn't know that is him there, destroying the party as well in some instances, and kind of doing different things. Bumbling once again, his bumbling nature kind of taking over this party, and once again, it kind of goes different directions, and we have the escalation of the night and this party, and of course we have the waiter as well, and just progressively getting more and more drunk as the night goes on, and that is one of my favourite kind of aspects of this film, the progression of the different characters, especially the waiter there, and just the way in which he progressively gets more and more drunk, kind of dropping things, and the whole sequence at the table, when food is being brought in and out, of the kind of room there, it's just hilarious, and yes, seeing though the way in which Michelle, just accepts this character, of Bakshi, and she takes such a kind of liking to him, and this connection, I feel, is very, very, very nice, and just a really lovely film, and I love how Bakshi is just this character who is unaware of different things, and stuff, and also just the kind of nice nature of this character, the innocence, you could say, and he does not drink, as we know, but later on in the film, this is when the film changes a little bit. In the last act, we have Bakshi also taking drink, and he himself becomes out of control, and I must say, I didn't like the final act as much, and that's when the film, kind of, it was a bit, kind of out of control, actually for me. But until that, we have, we'll try and, I can't really explain this, but I find this film to be a real tribute to silent cinema. Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Lauren Hardy as well. All these different talents. When they're in their silent, kind of days. I find it to be a very much playing on silent cinema, and as well being it's very interesting how Blake Edwards is framing this film, and how he's actually capturing the slapstick itself, and all these different moments within these massive sequences. He is perfectly at times actually ingeniously capturing chaos, and I find there is so much going on within moments within the frame, different characters, things, threads that have been set up very subtly, but they are there in the mind, and we have in the background, not really kind of intention being drawn to particular characters, but we have the way in which there is something going on if you look, many different characters at once, and never kind of taking away though from the central character being Bakshi, and the way in which he is kind of reacting, and what's going on with him, and how it's really hilarious how he doesn't really catch on to all the different things that are going wrong at times, and how for example with the waiter, he is kind of doing things, he is getting drunk, and things are falling about at times behind Bakshi, and there is no real reaction from him, and it's just so kind of perfectly set up at times, and the way in which these sequences though are captured and strung together, these constant gags I find that are just so uniquely placed, and I don't find this as a basic piece of slapstick. I really do I think this is very at times sophisticated. I know this was very much improv at times, but it seems like Blake Edwards, yes, experimenting of course, but really these two guys, Edwards, and Sellers, they're working together here in a very, very special way, actually, and the way in which improv is allowed, Sellers, is always he was always kind of on point, when he was allowed to kind of do his own thing, in some way, and kind of bring his own kind of thing to the table. But the way in which Blake Edwards allows this, but also the way in which he kind of really nicely and naturally at times captures this, Edwards capturing Sellers in action. This is genius at times, and I find the slapstick, the constant kind of barrage of gags, at times, for a majority of the film is not too much. It's chaos, it's carnage captured so wonderfully, and it's actually a real work of art, in the way it's done, and it's just it's kind of like looking at a painting, just the way in which we have the camera placements at times, and all this going on, and just a painting that's come alive, actually, just shenanigans, and I love how this is done. We have just other characters as well, kind of forming to Sellers, his character of Bakshi, and he's kind of at times, forming friendships with different characters, as we know that culminates, and we have the lovely kind of farewells of a particular character, as well. And just a lovely kind of way in which this film ends, and we have essentially implying that Sellers, Bakshi, will end up, of course, with Michelle in the end, and it's a really uplifting, warm film. This, and just the way I love the final shot as well, the kind of slow-mo moment when we have the actual party itself, that kind of dancing around with all the kind of foam there, and just the music there, and just the kind of the uplifting nature of that scene, and the smiles and the reactions, the energy from these two actors, and I really find this, there's so much energy in this film, even when I find the final act for me, I must say, it kind of loses the sense of control, I feel, and it does go a bit too far, and it's not quite the same in the way it's captured. Perhaps the experimental side, of the film, it does kind of lend a hand to it not being as consistent, perhaps, in the final act. But I think had they kept up the kind of quality and the control, and the fact as well, I think when Bakshi gets drunk, and he does kind of he himself become this insane character, I find it's not as funny, it's not as kind of as grounded. I love when he was not quite reacting fully to all the different moments that are going on around him. But yes, I find when it kind of goes to that, it's not as funny. It's a bit too, just a bit too much going on, and it's just not kind of as well built up, the gags, and kind of leading into the gags, and I find at times it's just a bit too much of other characters kind of coming in there, and just yes, despite that though, the last kind of 5 minutes, final moments in the party, and of course we have this kind of a moment when Bakshi and Michelle, discussing things, and the kind of the moments there. The final 5 minutes, I loved that, absolutely adored it. So yes, overall, despite kind of some slights in the final act, I do find this to be a great film, and certainly one of my among my favourite kind of Peter Sellers films. Just the writing by Tom and Frank Waldman, and of course as well Blake Edwards, the main writer on this film. It's great to see. Really compelling script. The character, Bakshi, it's definitely one of the most unique, in the film, and just a very, kind of playing on both Keaton and Chaplin, in different character working here. Kind of the sense of, lovability, of, the kind of Chaplin, the kind of likability of him, and just the niceness of that, and the characters that he played. But combined with the kind of the way in which Keaton reacted at times, and it's this really interesting mix, of influences. That's very interesting to see. But in itself, a unique, once again, Peter Sellers and Blake Edwards film, and just real lovely meshing of different genres. It's kind of natural at times. Also, at the same time, it has this kind of really surreal edge as well, as the kind of naturalism, and it's this really bizarre film, you could say, but it works, and it works very well indeed. In fact, as I say, a great film in my opinion. I think until the final act, this was actually a stunning film, and I think overall though, it is a stunning film. It's a great comedy, but it is a film that at times, until that kind of final act, you could say, this was when there are moments in this film of genius, and I just loved really every minute of this. And even though the final act, yes, it does take a dip, it's always fun, I guess, and enjoyable to see the different things going on, and it's just not as exceptional at all, as the rest of the film had been. But for me, a lovely experience. Henry Mancini as well. The score by him, is great, and just everyone involved in this film, is so lovely, this film, and very very warm, and I love this character of Bakshi. Such an interesting character, one of my favorite kind of comedic protagonists, really, in a film, and just so innocent, and just the likability of this character instantly, just kind of rooting for this character, and just sympathizing as well. The fact that different characters are reacting in different ways. The fact that he originally they said don't allow him to work on another film, but he did kind of pull through, and unintentionally, of course, he was the main kind of individual in the party, in the way in which it all kind of ended in disaster, you could say. But for us as viewers, it's just for me anyway, movie magic, and just a privilege to watch this film and to see Peter Sellers in action, and just wonderful acting here, and Blake Edwards as well. The direction here is stunning. It really, really is. As I say, especially until the final act, and the writing is great, but it's more of a visual film, this. As I say, it really acts in a very unique way, and the way in which this is framed, and the way in which the comedy, the slapstick, these sustained sequences, of tension and comedy working in harmony here. This is all just stunning. I feel the way in which this is captured is just magical. It really, really is. And I think once the party really begins, and you've got Sellers, of course, Bakshi losing his shoes. That's one of the main instances at first where things happen to him. From then on, until the final act, it's just it really is one of the best comedies I've ever seen. But overall, a great one, and one that I absolutely love, and definitely going to be among my favourites, on some kind of list, at some stage. Certainly one of my favourites so far from Edwards. I think this is better than quite a few of the Pink Panther films, and I love them, of course. A few of them, of course. A Shot in the Dark is definitely better than this for me. But other than that, I think in terms of just sheer quality, and a particular level of kind of unique visuals, and the way in which this story is told, I think this is really one of the best from Edwards that I've seen, and one of the one of the many great Peter Sellers performances, and films as well. Great film, magical film, and really uplifting, and lovely to see this romance, and the way it ends, and the way in which Bakshi just drives off, and in that lovely kind of mood that he's in, and just a wonderful character, and really, really lovely film, I find, and very, very uplifting. So my final rating for this film, for The Party, is a 91%. Yes, indeed. I loved it. I think even though the final act is nowhere near as good as the film had been, it's definitely not as good. It's too, I find, chaotic at times, in a way that is not captured like it was, in the previous acts. Despite all that, despite the fact that this film does kind of lose that kind of magic in the end, in the final act, some of it, I think this is a great film, and the ending certainly makes up for that anyway. The ending is great, lovely way in which this culminates, and just a lovely spirit this film has, a lot of energy, and at times the way in which Blake Edwards captured this, and kind of directed the action here, the comedy, it was just it was marvelous to behold, and to see Peter Sellers just acting like this, in one of his best roles. This is just wow, really, really something else. And of course the cast, Claudine, Longet, and of course Steve Franken as well. He was great in this film, as the waiter, and just one of the best parts about this film, is the way in which Bakshi and the waiter are interacting in the centre of the film, and the way in which things progress, and it's just a lovely location as well. I love this film, the way in which this puts me in a lovely mood, and just the location, the sets as well, and just the idea of this at the beginning as well, and how that leads to this party, and the way in which Bakshi is put on the list, and it's the opposite. What happens here? He is invited to this party, and just what a great film. So yes, what do you think of this film? It'd be great to hear. And just a very unique film. I find that it's not talked about too much, and it's great to kind of watch this film. And it'd be great to hear your thoughts. It'd be very interesting to see discussions on Peter Sellers, the comparisons between different films. As always, it kind of leads to this and that, and discussion on the Pink Panther films as well, and it'd be great to do. And yes, really look forward to discussing. If you want, of course, in the comments, leave your thoughts, and it'd be great to discuss this. And Blake Edwards, the legend that he was, and Peter Sellers, one of the absolute greatest actors of all time for me. And just once again, just like the Lady Killers, of course, watching that very recently for the first time. Once again, another great Sellers role and film. So yes, that's my thoughts. It'd be great to hear yours. And as always, take care and thanks for watching.